Long ago, in the heart of Lagos, there lived a billionaire named Chief Ajibade. He and his wife owned oil blocks, hotels, transport businesses, anything money could buy, they had. Their only child was Femi, a boy they had late in life, and they loved him more than anything. From the day Femi was born, he never lacked anything. He had maids, drivers, a nanny, a private tutor, even a swimming pool in his room. While other children were chasing tires on dusty roads, Femi was riding imported bicycles and eating food from overseas. But money doesn't protect you from fate. When Femi was just 7 years old, tragedy struck. His parents were returning from an overseas trip when their private jet crashed. No one survived. The world mourned. News channels carried the story for weeks, but amidst the tears and confusion, one person stood strong, Mama Ebun, Chief Ajibade's mother. She was already old, living quietly in the village when the news came. Without hesitation, she came to the city to take care of her only grandchild. "Femi is all I have left," she told the family lawyer, holding the boy close. Mama Ebun moved into the mansion, determined to give Femi all the love she had. She was not educated or rich like her son, but her heart was pure. She cooked for him, bathed him, prayed for him, and told him moonlight stories every night. She gave him everything, except discipline. Whenever he misbehaved, she would laugh and say, "Leave him, he's just a child." When he broke expensive glass, she would say, "He's a boy, nah? That's how children behave." Soon, Femi began to take advantage of her soft heart. He would lie, steal, beat up the housemaids, and still get away with it. The staff were scared of him, and nobody could stop him, because Mama Ebun would always protect him. At first, it was small things. Then, by the time he turned 13, Femi started following bad friends. By 15, he was smoking, drinking, and keeping dangerous boys around him. Mama Ebun had become old and weak. Her eyes had gone dim, her legs shaking, but her love for Femi never reduced. She didn't know that the same child she carried on her back would one day break her heart beyond repair. As Femi grew older, the seed of bad behavior became a tree. At 16, he was no longer just misbehaving, he was dangerous. He no longer respected Mama Ebun. The same old woman who once carried him on her back, he now shouted at. Sometimes he even pushed her when she tried to talk sense into him. "Leave me alone, old woman. You're not my mother," he shouted one day when she begged him to stop coming home late. Mama Ebun would sit in her room and cry quietly. Her heart was broken, but she always found a reason to forgive him. "It's not his fault," she told herself. "He lost his parents too early. Maybe this is just pain." But deep inside, she was scared. She noticed strange behaviors, her bedroom door unlocking at night, and her waking up tired with pain in her body and wetness in her private area. She has doubt. Maybe it's just old age, she will say. Femi started locking himself in his room for hours. He was now taking hard drugs. He stopped going to school. He would sneak out at night and return drunk or smelling of smoke. People began to talk. Even the gate man said, "Madam, this boy go bring problem oh. He no day behave like person again." But Mama Ebun was blinded by love. Her only grandchild, her last joy. She couldn't give up on him. Until one night, something happened that shook her soul. She woke up and found her room slightly open. The juice she drank earlier tasted strange. Her head was spinning. She tried to call for help, but her voice was weak. When she finally managed to crawl out of bed, she saw something in Femi's drawer that confirmed her fear. A bottle of sleeping pills, and something far worse. She didn't want to believe it, but her spirit told her the truth. Her heart shattered that night, but she said nothing. She decided to act wise. "I will not drink his juice again," she whispered to herself. She began to pretend. She smiled during the day and watched during the night. The mansion was silent that night. Crickets sang softly outside. The guards were asleep. The cook had gone home. Only Femi and Mama Ebun were inside. That day, Femi had brought her a chilled glass of juice, his usual trick. But this time, she accepted it with a smile and quietly poured it into a flower vase behind her. She lay on her bed pretending to sleep. When the wall clock struck 12:30 a.m., the door creaked open. She didn't move. Femi tiptoed into the room. As he reached for her, she sat up suddenly and screamed, "Femi!" He froze. Her eyes were wide, filled with pain and shock. "So this is what you've been doing to me?" she shouted, tears rolling down her cheeks. "You've been giving me sleeping drugs? You've been defiling me? Me, your own grandmother! I gave birth to your father. You saw my nakedness." "Oh God, what is this?" she cried. "You this evil child! Is this how you decided to repay me for my good deeds?" Femi tried to speak, but nothing came out. "I gave you everything," she cried, voice shaking. "I loved you like a son. I left my house and moved to the city so I could raise you well. And this is how you repay me?" She placed her 2 hands on her head and wept bitterly. "Femi, your hands have destroyed your own destiny." Then she stood up slowly, pointed at him with shaking fingers, and said, "You will have money, but peace will run from you. Any woman you marry will die mysteriously. Your name will bring fear, not joy. Until you confess what you did to me, your life will remain empty. You will never have family of your own. For seeing my nakedness, you are cursed." As she shouted those words, her chest began to beat fast. She held her heart, staggered, and fell to the ground. Femi ran to her, crying, "Mama, Mama!" But it was too late. She died in pain, eyes open, mouth slightly parted, curse still hanging in the air. And that was how it all began. After Mama Ebun's death, Femi tried to act like nothing happened. He told the public that she died peacefully in her sleep. The will was read, and as expected, everything, companies, estates, lands, was in his name. At just 19, Femi became a billionaire. People envied him. Newspapers called him Nigeria's youngest billionaire. He wore designer clothes, drove flashy cars, and traveled around the world. But deep inside, he was empty. He started seeing Mama Ebun in his dreams. Sometimes she was crying. Other times, she was just staring at him silently. He couldn't sleep well. He avoided mirrors. He avoided silence. To fill the emptiness, he started chasing women. At 21, he met Amara, a sweet, beautiful girl. He married her in a grand wedding. But 3 months later, Amara fell sick mysteriously. Doctors couldn't explain it. Before long, she died in her sleep. People called it spiritual attack. Femi moved on quickly. He married again, and again, and again. Each time, the wife died. Some lasted months, some just weeks. By the time he turned 30, 6 of his wives had died, all mysteriously. People started whispering, "That billionaire boy, something is wrong with him. Any woman he marries dies. Maybe he's into dark things." But Femi knew the truth. Mama Ebun's curse was following him like a shadow. No matter how many women Femi married, none stayed alive. He tried everything. He changed churches. He went to native doctors. He visited mountains to pray. He donated to orphanages and built schools in Mama Ebun's name. But nothing worked. Every time he looked into a woman's eyes, he remembered the pain in Mama Ebun's face. Her voice echoed in his head. "Until you confess, your peace will remain far from you." Femi started losing sleep. He began hearing footsteps at night. Doors would open and close by themselves. Sometimes he would see a shadow sitting at the edge of his bed, staring at him. His businesses began to crumble slowly. Contracts failed. Trusted staff betrayed him. Even his health started failing. He tried to adopt a child, but the child ran away, screaming the moment they entered the house. He was haunted by silence. Then one night he saw her, Mama Ebun, standing at the edge of his bed. She didn't speak. She only looked at him, with disappointment. Femi screamed and fainted. After that night, Femi knew he had to do something. He packed his bags and left the city. No guards, no convoy. He drove himself to his village for the first time in 20 years. People were shocked. The billionaire is back? But he wasn't there for show. He went straight to the old family house, abandoned and covered in dust. There he knelt in front of Mama Ebun's grave and cried like a child. "Mama, I'm sorry. I was lost. I didn't know what I was doing. I was wicked. I let the devil use me. Please forgive me." He spent the night there, weeping. The next day, he went to the village square and did something nobody expected. He confessed. He gathered elders, chiefs, villagers, even pastors. He told them everything. What he did to Mama Ebun, how she cursed him, how his wives died. The village was silent. Some people walked out in tears. Others looked at him in shock and disgust. But one old seer remained behind. He walked slowly to Femi and said, "You have opened the door to healing, but it will not be easy. The land is crying. You need to do the cleansing, and the land must hear your voice again." Femi was given a list of things to do. First, he fasted for 7 days. Then he washed Mama Ebun's grave with oil and fresh water. He slaughtered a white goat, as the elders instructed, and begged for forgiveness. But the final step was the hardest. He had to stand before the entire nation and confess publicly. "Only when the world hears your truth," the seer said, "will the curse lose its strength." Femi hesitated. What would people say? His enemies would mock him. His name would be destroyed. But deep inside, he knew it was the only way. He called a press conference, wearing a simple white kaftan, no jewelry, no bodyguards. He stood before the cameras and said, "My name is Femi Ajibade. I was raised by my grandmother. I hurt her in the worst way a human can, and before she died, she cursed me. Everything I have lost is because of my sin. I am ready to face whatever comes, but please, let this truth set me free." After Femi's public confession, the internet caught fire. Billionaire confesses to grandmother's abuse and deadly curse. Wives died mysteriously. Now we know why. Is this madness, honesty, or a desperate cry for help? Some people praised his bravery. Others dragged his name through the mud. Why is he telling us this now? He should be in prison, not press conference. He thinks money can wash away blood? But one thing was clear. People were listening. Many who had suffered silently felt inspired to speak up. Victims of family abuse, neglected elders, and even former staff came out with their own stories. Femi lost business partners. Investors pulled out. Brands stopped associating with him. But for the first time, he felt peace inside. He had finally told the truth. Months passed. Femi stayed away from the city, living quietly in the village. One day, a woman named Temilade came to the village clinic where Femi was volunteering. She wasn't like the other women he had known. She was calm, kind, and deeply spiritual. They started talking. She didn't know him as the billionaire. To her, he was just the quiet man who helps villagers and fetches water for the old ones. Femi didn't chase her. He didn't even expect love again. But one evening, Temilade came to him and said, "I've prayed, and I saw you in my dream. You are broken, but you are not beyond repair." Femi shook his head. "I'm not safe for anyone. Everyone I love dies." But Temilade smiled. "Your curse is not greater than God's mercy." She stayed, and for the first time in years, Femi allowed someone into his life without fear. Even with Temilade by his side, Femi still had nightmares. He would wake up sweating, hearing Mama Ibun's voice in his ears. "Have you truly changed, or are you just pretending?" The village priest told him, "The curse doesn't only need confession, it needs cleansing of the heart." Femi stopped all prideful acts. He sold most of his properties and used the money to build schools, sponsor elderly care homes, and help abused women. He returned to every woman's family he had married and begged for forgiveness. Some accepted him, some cursed him, but he kept going, because he wanted peace, not praise. One rainy night, Temilade fell unconscious. Femi rushed her to the clinic. She was cold. Her heartbeat was faint. Fear gripped him. "Not again," he whispered. "Please, God, not again." He stayed by her bedside for 3 days, refusing to eat. He prayed like never before. "Take everything, but don't take her. I've lost enough. I've suffered enough." On the 4th day, Temilade opened her eyes. "Femi," she whispered weakly. "I saw her." "Who?" he asked. "Mama Ebun. She said your tears have reached heaven. She said, 'It is done.'" After Temilade recovered, everything changed. Femi stopped seeing shadows. The graveyard where Mama Ebun was buried felt peaceful. Children began visiting his house without fear. The curse was lifting. He returned to the seer who once gave him the cleansing list. The old man looked into the sky and smiled. "You have passed through fire and didn't die. Now you are gold." "Can I ever live a normal life?" Femi asked. "No man is normal after walking with spirits," the seer said. "But you will have peace, and your story will become healing to others." Femi and Temilade got married, but this time no fanfare, no social media, no politicians, no gold rings. Just a small ceremony under a mango tree, attended by villagers, elders, orphans, and widows. The same people he once ignored were now the ones blessing him. They danced, they sang, and they prayed. For once, Femi felt genuine joy. He whispered to his wife, "I never thought I'd be happy again." And Temilade replied, "You're not just happy, Femi. You are healed." A year later, Temilade gave birth to a baby boy. They named him Ebunoluwa, meaning God's gift. Femi held the baby and cried. "I don't deserve this," he whispered. But Temilade held his hand and said, "Yes, you do. You fought for this. You changed." That night, Femi stood under the stars, holding his son, and said a silent prayer. "Mama, I hope you can see this. I hope you're proud of me now." Femi built a foundation in Mama Ebun's name to protect the elderly. He went from city to city telling his story, not as a billionaire, but as a broken man who found mercy. He visited prisons, schools, and rehab centers. Wherever he spoke, hearts softened. One young man in the crowd once shouted, "You saved me from doing something evil. Thank you." And Femi broke down in tears. The same man who once caused pain was now saving lives. Femi returned to the old mansion in Lagos. He had avoided it for years. Inside, everything was still the same. The painting of his parents, the large dining table, Mama Ebun's old Bible still on the shelf. He sat in her old room, held the Bible, and wept. "I am not that boy anymore, Mama. I'm sorry. I finally understand everything you did for me." The wind blew gently, as if someone answered. And for the first time, he felt her presence not as judgment, but as peace. Years later, Femi stood beside Mama Ebun's grave with Temilade and their children. He cleaned the tombstone with his own hands. They laid flowers, sang hymns, and stood in silence. Then Femi knelt and whispered, "You can rest now, Mama. Your boy has finally become a man." And in that quiet moment, a butterfly landed on his shoulder. The wind blew softly through the trees, and the sun broke through the clouds. Mama Ebun was gone, but her spirit finally smiled. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please click on that subscribe button now. Turn on the notifications so whenever I post more interesting stories, you'll be the first to get them. I really appreciate you. I do not take your support for granted. See you in my next video. Bye.